What if Order 66 was executed, but the Jedi survived? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Anakin roars as his troops continue to advance up the temple steps. They had the element of surprise in numbers, but things had not gone according to plan. The Jedi are putting up a better fight than anyone expected. They launched a spirited resistance that slowed the clones' advance to a crawl as they struggled to make headway. This wasn't limited to just their strike in the Jedi Temple either. All across the galaxy, as Order 66 is activated, the clones are struggling to carry out this command. The Jedi, hardened by years of war, are now experts in defending against overwhelming numbers. The droids are nearly endless, and while the clones are more skilled, the limited number of clones are more manageable. While a few fall to the hands of the clones, most Jedi manage to escape. As the chaos unfolds, many Jedi manage to slip through the chaos, making their way through ruins and jungles or escaping onto the surface. The temple is no different, as the Jedi Masters in the temple rally the younglings, Padawans, and Knights to defend their homes. Despite everything the clones throw at them, the temple is too fortified for them to take by surprise, so they instead buckle down for a siege. This is exactly what Palpatine wished to avoid. He needed the Jedi exterminated, but he needed it done quickly, before either the Order or the Senate figured out what was happening. But now, as the confusion wears off and the Jedi can report what's going on, it begins to raise questions. Their allies in the Senate now turn the tables, questioning Palpatine's orders. They asked why the clones suddenly turned on all Jedi simultaneously across the galaxy, how they know all Jedi are responsible, including the younglings, and what proof Palpatine has of their involvement. These are questions he cannot answer, and even as he tries to outmaneuver them, the opportunity slips from his fingers. At the head of the opposition is Padme, who receives a tip from Ahsoka about the use of inhibitor chips in the clones. All eyes are on the Jedi Temple as the siege drags on. Storming it now would appear like genocide, so Palpatine is forced to reluctantly lift the siege and look for a way to salvage this situation. He does so in the only way possible, blaming someone else, and he finds the perfect scapegoats. The first is the Kaminoans, claiming they placed the chips without his knowledge, and how they sought to wipe out the Jedi because they were the ones who discovered it. As they are already distrusted, many are willing to believe it. The second is trickier. It becomes necessary as he needs someone to blame for the military action: Anakin Skywalker. He's the only person who knows the full truth about Palpatine, and therefore is the most dangerous. But he's also the person who led the charge in the Jedi Temple, and the one who struck down Mace Windu, or so Palpatine claims. He says that Anakin was the one who told him the Jedi were plotting against him, and so Palpatine, to his regret, ordered the clones to attack based on this faulty information. But Anakin never gets a chance to hear this news, as when he leads the troops from the Jedi Temple, the 501st suddenly train their blasters on him and cut him down. Though it remains a black spot in his career, it does save Palpatine from a full coup, as many are happy to accept this claim and consider the matter closed. The only question that remains is what to do with the Jedi. The Chancellor proposes that the Jedi be demilitarized and removed from their military positions. He frames this as an act of compassion, to let them rebuild the Order and veer away from politics. But this offer divides the Jedi into two camps. Many like Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Plo Koon believe they should accept this offer and leave Coruscant altogether. But others, led by Ki-Adi-Mundi and Luminara Unduli, believe that their positions in the military are the only things keeping them alive. This creates a schism within the Order, as those who wish to leave the Republic go their separate ways, heading into the far corners of the galaxy, while those who remain are allowed to stay there. This presents Palpatine with an opportunity to regain control. He allows those Jedi who escape to remain in hiding, while those who wish to stay, a full military commission as generals. This would effectively have them abandon their peacekeeper roles to become generals. Hundreds accept this offer. For the first few months, they continue commanding the clones as they did during the Clone Wars. But over time, Palpatine begins phasing them out in favor of conscripts. These new TK troopers are trained by clone commandos and other officers fanatically loyal to the Empire. Many of these troopers had executed Order 66 without hesitation and never fully trusted the Jedi, instilling the same distrust in their new soldiers. With their new troops, the Jedi would shift their focus on putting down CIS holdouts and rebel cells. This counterinsurgency campaign is far more brutal, often requiring urban combat and many civilian casualties. The Imperial Jedi are initially horrified by this and protest. Some even go as far to refuse to carry out these orders. But while this might have worked with their clone soldiers who trusted them, their conscripts are loyal to the Empire first and cut down any general who refuses. Jedi like Luminara and Ki-Adi-Mundi realize that their only path to peace is by obeying the Empire and trying to limit destruction by getting people to follow. Meanwhile, those who choose exile continue their original purpose, studying the Force and trying to find balance, while helping the people in whatever ways they can. However, many were hunted over the years by the Empire, which reduced their numbers to almost nothing. They are now few, scattered, and divided. But a few maintain ties with their allies in the Senate. Among them are Plo Koon, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Quinlan Vos. These Jedi are trusted with the care of Padme's children. Luke goes with Master Plo and Kenobi, while Ahsoka and Quinlan take Leia. With these different masters, the pair's lives take drastically different turns. Under the wisdom of the two Jedi Masters, Luke becomes a more conventional Jedi, learning patience, caution, and compassion. Meanwhile, Leia has a different experience under Ahsoka and Quinlan Vos. They are much closer to Anakin's training, which emphasizes action and bending the rules. Rather than meditate, they spend their time on occupied Imperial planets and helping the people out, drawing power from their emotions and their righteous cause. While they are still as compassionate, they are more aggressive and willing to fight. Both are aware of the other's existence, but the nature of their training ensures they don't see each other often. The same is true with their mother, who must remain on Coruscant to prevent revealing her role. But it doesn't stop other Imperials from looking for her, as Ahsoka, Quinlan, and Leia become some of the Empire's most wanted, with many Imperial Jedi hunting them down. This forces them to retreat from one of their latest missions on Lothal. But while they evade the ground forces, a group of starfighters pursues them, emerging from the cover of the moon to fire at their ships, disabling them before they can get away. The ships land on their ship, revealing Luminara Unduli and two other Imperial loyal Jedi.
Padawan Tano. It's good to see you.
Actually, it's now Master Tano.
Then congratulations are in order.
And we accept your congratulations. But I don't think we're in the mood to talk right now.
Oh, but I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. You've never given up the fight against the Empire. This I understand. I've served long enough to know the cruelty of the Emperor.
Just not long enough to stop it.
Until now. We've bided our time, waiting for the right moment to strike. But I've managed to secure the loyalty of my Legion. They will fight for me as the time has come to strike at the heart of the Empire. Palpatine's reign will end. I come here to offer you a chance to join in this victory.
You're saying we could end this? For good? And what of the Senate?
Our quarrel is with Palpatine, not the Senate. They will join us, but only if we succeed.
And replace Palpatine with what? A council of Jedi who already betrayed their oaths to follow him? You've aligned yourselves with the Empire for years, Luminara. How can we trust you now?
Yeah. You've been cozy in the Emperor's shadow while we've been scraping by in the dirt. What's your real angle?
My angle, Vos, is to save the galaxy from tyranny. I made choices to survive, but now I'm doing what's right. And if that doesn't meet your impossible standards, so be it.
Wait, shouldn't we help them then? To ensure that our voice is heard too.
Indeed. We had thought Obi-Wan and his child would see reason. But it seems Leia is the one who inherited Anakin's intelligence.
It matters because once someone compromises their principles, it's only a matter of time before they betray you.
Maybe it's better to act than sit around and question everyone's motives. If they're willing to take down Palpatine, isn't that enough? That's good enough for me.
Leia, don't do this.
You taught me to fight for what's right. And this is the best shot we have.
She softens, glancing between Ahsoka and Quinlan.
You don't have to trust them. But I do. I won't let fear stop me from doing what needs to be done.
By the time they arrive, The battle has already begun, as Ki-Adi-Mundi's legion has already begun the attack, keeping the Imperial army distracted long enough that Luminara and her group can land undetected. By then, her troops are waiting, and she gives the order for them to attack, spreading the chaos across the capital city. Meanwhile, Luminara, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Leia detach themselves from the main battle, heading towards one of the Senate platforms where the Emperor is being evacuated. The trio lands alongside a group of other Imperial Jedi.
So, the traitorous Jedi show their true colors. How predictable, and how futile.
Your reign is over.
Ah, Padme's whelp. Do you think you can defeat me? I am the Senate. I am the dark side itself.
Before they can attack, Luminara orders the other Jedi forward, letting them rush Palpatine at once. Their lightsabers flashing as one, momentarily overwhelming him as he tries to defend against this onslaught. But as Palpatine regains his bearings, the tide begins to shift. His lightsaber slashes and counters just as quickly as they can throw their attacks. Soon the Jedi begin falling one by one. Leia wants to rush in and help, but the two masters hold her back as their allies fall until they have a clear shot. Suddenly, both unleash a powerful force push that sends Palpatine flying back and slamming against the wall. Leia knows this is her chance and rushes forward, swinging her lightsaber at him, which Palpatine barely blocks. But despite his earlier struggles, in a one-on-one duel, his mastery clearly shows as he begins to rise and block against Leia's attacks. He meets each one blow for blow before hooking his leg behind hers and sending her stumbling. The follow-up cut strikes her shoulder and leaves her grimacing. The two masters rush in, attacking from either side. Palpatine reaches out for the ship, tearing off large plates of it and hurling it towards them. The two pause their attacks to block these incoming projectiles, while Leia throws herself forward. Despite her injury, she knows Palpatine is off balance, and the two tumble to the ground. She follows with a few punches directly to his face before being thrown back. The two masters close the distance and swing from either side, but Palpatine slides under their blows and then swings his lightsaber wildly, blocking each of their attacks before turning to Luminara. He smiles and tries to close in on her, attacks raining down on Luminara, who soon finds herself on the defensive. Her eyes flick up and down as she tries to track each of Palpatine's attacks while starting to step back. But then the Sith Lord takes this opportunity to strike. He swings low and forces her to defend against it, while his other hand shoots out and blasts her with lightning. The Jedi Master sails across the platform, electricity coursing through her, while Ki-Adi-Mundi rushes to her aid. Palpatine twists his arms and then snaps them together, sending the lightning bursting in a powerful shockwave that sends him flying too. But through the smoke, Leia leaps out and advances. Even as a second fork of lightning comes at her, she keeps running, blocking her attack until they cross lightsabers. Palpatine tries to continue his attacks, trying to mimic the success of Luminara, but Leia isn't trained as a conventional Jedi. Her attacks are wilder and more unpredictable, while she relies more on instinct to defend herself. This time, she gets the jump on Palpatine, as she sweeps his legs and swings her lightsaber as he falls, his body thumping on the ground, his head rolling a few feet away. With Palpatine dead, the trio quickly stormed the Senate to report the news, which breaks resistance as Imperial forces across the city see no further reason to fight. Most surrender and allow the pair to address the Senate.
I am sure many of you are curious as to what we plan to do after we get rid of the Emperor. Many have been clamoring for a return to the Republic, and I admit that I initially considered this as well. But I can't help but remember that the Republic allowed Palpatine to rise in the first place.
Indeed. The same senators who voted back then to condemn us remain present, so we've come to the decision not to restore the Republic.
The pair ignore the gasps from the crowd and the angry cries. Instead, the pair announce they will remodel the Empire based on the Jedi Code to create a more stable and honorable society.
The military will be restructured. It will no longer serve the interests of corporations or politicians. It will act as a peacekeeping force, defending the rights of all beings under the guidance of the Jedi Code. Discipline and loyalty will be paramount.
The Jedi Council is re-established as a political position that will make the laws alongside the Senate. They are also placed in charge of security and peacekeeping, maintaining their military positions. These laws are built around the Jedi Code, punishing all forces of excess, like gambling, drinking, spice use, and certain forms of art and entertainment. Force-sensitive children are immediately identified and taken for training, regardless of their family's wishes. Leia initially supports these changes, believing the Jedi's promise of a brighter future. She assists in humanitarian missions, helping planets recover from years of Imperial oppression. But as time passes, she begins to see the cracks in this new system. During one mission on Corellia, she watches the streets appear empty, as even civilians are afraid to go out with stormtroopers patrolling the streets. All that remains are propaganda posters and the praise of the Council's wisdom. She suddenly sees a group of stormtroopers arresting a man accused of harboring unregistered weapons. The man protests, claiming they're tools for his mining business, but the soldiers drag him away as his family screams. Leia can hardly bear the sight and draws her lightsaber. Neither stormtrooper has the chance to react as she cuts them down. But as the miner crawls away, Leia quickly runs off and secretly contacts her masters for help, along with Luke.
Luke, if you're out there, I need you. I know you see things differently, but please trust me on this. The Jedi have gone too far, and we can't let it continue. Not like this. The stormtroopers, they're not protecting people. They're oppressing them. I just watched them try to arrest a miner over nothing. Nothing! He begged for his life. I stopped them, but I can't ignore it anymore. I'm going to try and fight them, but I can't do it alone.
Her message soon reaches her brother, who has already begun his efforts to try and undermine the Empire. When he sees this message, he immediately wants to take off and help his sister. Despite how little they see each other, he still feels an attachment to her. However, Master Plo and Obi-Wan are more reluctant. They worry this might be a trap, or that it will only put the people in more trouble if both of them are there. Luke can't keep quiet any longer and journeys to join his sister. When he arrives on Corellia, he finds Leia already busy, gathering a resistance movement, arming rebels, and battling local troops. They've already won some minor victories and managed to free a few villagers. But this is just the beginning. With Luke and his piloting skills, they even begin to contest the Empire's control of the skies. They take out airfields and Imperial installations, allowing smugglers to come in with more weapons and munitions. Leia, meanwhile, uses her battlefield experience to train and plan attacks. She leads the troops from the front, rallying the people and inspiring them to fight against the Jedi. These prove incredibly successful, and they manage to overpower even the local Jedi. Seeing the rebellion spread, Luminara and Ki-Adi-Mundi realize they cannot allow this movement to remain active. They know that Leia is almost certainly in charge, and organizes a massive response, leading it personally. As the Star Destroyers deploy their soldiers, Leia moves to rally their forces. Though they were offered amnesty if they surrendered, none of the rebellion accepted this offer. As Luke joins her, shouting encouragement to their men, the pair notice a flurry of movement as the stormtroopers begin to advance. The battlefield explodes into chaos. The stormtroopers and Jedi charge, their blasters and lightsabers cutting into the rebel ranks, but Leia's forces fight with desperation and determination. Then, from the rebel lines, a blur of movement streaks forward. Ahsoka Tano leaps into the fray, her twin sabers spinning in graceful arcs. Quinlan Vos follows, his blade a golden blur as he engages the two Jedi at once. Moments later, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Plo Koon appear, carving a path through the stormtroopers' forces to reach Leia. The rebel troops cheer as the legendary Jedi Masters join their side.
Did you think we'd miss out on this fun?
Go, leave the false Jedi to us.
Ahsoka nods, her sabers flashing as she intercepts 3 charging Jedi. Plo Koon uses the Force to send a wave of enemies sprawling, and Obi-Wan pulls a stormtrooper blaster from an enemy's hands and sends it flying back to their users. Luke and Leia nod, igniting their lightsabers and rushing forward, cutting through the stormtroopers' ranks and carving a path to the Imperial Command Center. The pair soon face Ki-Adi-Mundi and Luminara Unduli.
You've been misled, Skywalker. Stand down. I can still guide you back to the path of the Jedi. The Jedi are supposed to protect the galaxy, not rule it. I won't let you continue this. But we don't need to be enemies. Obi-Wan is willing to welcome you back, and Master Plo sees you as old comrades.
With that, their blades clash, sparks flying as the two engage in a fierce duel. Nearby, Leia faces Luminara.
You're reckless. That recklessness will be your undoing.
Maybe. But at least I'm fighting for something real.
Leia makes the first move, swinging a set of quick slashes to probe her defense. Luminara parries each one with ease, allowing the younger Jedi to advance before leaping behind a downed transport. Leia leaps up after her, and Luminara swings at her legs, nearly sending her falling off. Reversing her grip, Luminara tries to stab down at her, forcing Leia to twist around. She stabs back at Luminara, who pivots aside and shakes her head.
Sloppy. You should have trained more before facing me.
And you should have learned to improvise.
Luminara raises an eyebrow, just as Leia causes one of the metal plates to jerk up and slam against her. This sends the green-skinned Jedi tumbling and allowing the younger fighter to recover. Leaping to her feet, she aims and slashes down at her legs, which Luminara barely avoids. Leia follows up with a punch across her face. She follows with a stab aimed at her chest. Luminara crouches low and lifts another plate as a makeshift shield, but Leia's lightsaber stabs through it and begins to push against her. The two women struggle as they battle for control, but Leia's lightsaber drives deeper and forces Luminara to withdraw. Just in time, too, as the plate shatters into pieces and Leia rushes through them. She whirls and stabs downward right at Leia's leg. She groans and drops to her knee. Luminara looks up to see a green lightsaber flash and take her across the neck. Meanwhile, Luke and Ki-Adi-Mundi are taking a far more aggressive position. The older Jedi Master allows his anger to be unleashed, throwing furious attacks at Luke, aiming to overwhelm him. Meanwhile, Luke moves with more calm, expected from his years of training with Plo and Obi-Wan. He carefully parries each attack, giving ground and swinging his lightsaber to catch Ki-Adi-Mundi's attacks before batting it aside. He follows up with a swift stab, but he sidesteps this attack.
You are too cautious. It is a weakness. Your sister knew when it was time to strike. It's what keeps me grounded and prevents me from making a huge mistake like you. There are no mistakes when it comes to restoring order to the galaxy. I'm sure Palpatine thought so too.
Anger flashes as the Jedi Master counters and leaps onto one of the consoles, slashing at Luke from above and forcing him to get down and defend. Ki-Adi-Mundi follows up by leaping over and making a stab at his neck. Luke barely avoids this attack and has to drop down while Ki-Adi-Mundi lands on another console. Changing tactics, rather than attacking him directly, Luke swings his lightsaber at the console, sending sparks across the Jedi Master's feet and stumbling off the edge. Luke uses the Force to push him down and knocks his head against the ground. Luke follows up and tries to stab at him, but Mundi rolls aside and makes a sweeping slash to drive him back. Luke is forced to back down, allowing the older Jedi to leap into the center of the console chamber. Here, he is surrounded by command consoles that give him some cover. He leans back and has an easier time parrying each attack. Soon Luke steps back, but then thrusts his fingers out and unleashes a burst of Force judgment, blasting the consoles, which ignite in a shower of sparks. These embers surround the Jedi Master, who screams and disappears into the flames. With the ringleaders of the Imperial Jedi and most of their lieutenants dead, this allows the Senate to regain control of the government in chaos. With the Jedi Rebels and the Rebel Alliance backing Padme, she can restore her position and become a senator. Her first course of action is to pardon all the remaining Jedi who went into hiding. They are welcomed back to rebuild the Jedi Temple and serve as peacekeepers, but most opt instead to remain where they are. Instead, they focus on their corners of the galaxy, leading to a shift in how the Order does things, as they decentralize responsibilities instead of staying on Coruscant. The only exceptions are Luke and Leia, along with their masters, who cooperate with the new Chancellor. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.